Hey guys, it's Justin again. This video is brought to you by the folks over at Createx Paint. They sent us a bunch of products to test and see how they work with gunpla. We're going to test the various properties of the paint, such as how they spray, how they blend, masking, and even more, so stick around. Before I jump into this video, I want to thank my friend Andy for supporting me over on Patreon. Thanks for the support. Okay, so the first segment of this video is going to be on their sealers and thinning. Sealers, which are more commonly known as primers, come in a wide range of colors, and they are used to undercoat your base colors and aid the colors in retaining their vibrancy. For our first test, we're going to thin the paint out the same way we would normally thin out our paints, starting at a 50-50 ratio and working our way towards a more consistent ratio. They included instructions, but for the moment we're going to ignore them, just to see what happens. So for our first round of testing, we can see that we had a little bit of pooling occur, actually a lot. I think if we lowered the pressure and proceeded in lighter coats, we would have been a little bit better off. But we're going to go ahead and strip this piece and proceed with the recommended ratio of 10% thinner to 90% paint. Proceeding using the recommended ratio gives us a mix a little bit closer to what we're used to spraying, and the spray patterns are a lot more even this way. Again, we could probably drop our pressure just a little bit and get better results, but this will work perfectly fine. And there you have it. This piece looks a whole lot better when you follow the guidelines. The paint flows smooth and is nice and glossy. Let's move on to the next section. The next thing I want to talk about is undercoating. I wanted to see how much of a shift I can get out of these paints. So for my yellows, I used an undercoat of orange instead of using the yellow sealer. And then I mixed my own custom yellow mix to spray over top of it. Unfortunately, the footage is missing for how it turned out, but I think it came out pretty good. Next, I want to go over the hand paintability of these paints. Sometimes airbrush paints can give you a little bit of trouble when you apply them via a brush, or vice versa. I've already painted all the red pieces using the methods that we've already highlighted before, so we're going to go ahead and highlight some of these details on the bottoms of the feet using a custom mixed gray. Hand brushing these paints was surprisingly easy and gave me no trouble whatsoever. I'm very pleased with the results. The last thing I want to talk about is blending. For this experiment, I took 2 spoons and base coated one in orange sealer and one in red sealer, and then I applied orange upwards to yellow opaque paints to see how well they handled the transition. Although one minor hiccup that occurred was that I'm so used to working with lacquer paints, I just kind of kept plucking away at this and didn't give the red spoon enough time to fully dry on the last layer, but we had a ton of bleed through, and all in all I think both spoons handled the shifts in color fantastically. The paint maintained its readability all the way across both surfaces and stayed glossy the entire time. So do these paints meet my standards? Absolutely. I think in terms of locally available paints made in the United States, these are some of the nicer paints I've used. I still really like the quick drying qualities of lacquer paints, but when it comes to airbrushing acrylics, these are my new go-to paints, hands down. If I had to say anything bad about these paints, I wish they came in a wider color range, but they mix beautifully, so if you pay attention to what you're doing, that should be no issue whatsoever. Thinning them and spraying them is easy as can be, and when working in larger batches, the dry time shouldn't be much of an issue at all. There was no real noticeable odor to the paints, although it's probably still recommended to wear a mask when you're spraying them. If you wanted to pick some paints up, I provided some Amazon links down below, and I've also seen these paints available locally in Hobby Lobby. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this look at Createx paints, and if you're interested in them, I hope you check them out. If you guys wanted to support me and my channel and the content that I create, please consider donating to my Patreon page or picking up a shirt from the store link below. Everything I made from those platforms go into making more great content for this channel. Thanks for your time, guys. Later.